Hello, this is Dom from Black Toad Studios and welcome to episode 2 of Do You Want to Build a Warhound? So in the last episode, it's a good name, I want to keep this one. In the last episode we went through the unboxing and a quite bit of planning behind the Warhound. We've run this one, we're going to go through some key points of prep work. Might not be everyone's cup of tea, but we're going to go through a bit of cutting, a bit of cleaning and a bit of washing. And hopefully you kind of either learn something from this or you can give some hints to other viewers. Either way, we're getting closer, people. These tiny steps are going to start leading to things getting glued and eventually painted. So let's go and have a look to see what we're going to do today. Right, so here we are. We have got some hobby tools that are going to be required for this task of a bit of cleanup. So starting on the left here, we have got our scalpel. Make sure you've got a sharp blade in there, guys. If you're unfamiliar with using a scalpel or a sharp knife, make sure you get a bit of practice beforehand. Just be careful because these things are, as said, very sharp. Scalpels are normally used for surgery. So make sure you've got either the appropriate kind of safety wear if you need it. Also, a cutting mat is pretty important as well. Next, got hobby saw here as well, so you can normally pick these up from your normal hobby shop or hobby website. Probably even pick them up from Amazon if you wanted to, but that's going to be pretty crucial in this job here. You normally get them with a couple of blades. I've had this one a few years, it's very handy. And clippers. Why wouldn't you need clippers? Normally these can be used for your normal standard hobby stuff. Just so easy to use, aren't they? I think we all own some clippers by now. These are my army painter ones. I've had them for a while, and yeah, they're doing a good job. But once again, other styles are available. There might be other preferences you guys have used for resin stuff before. However, this is what we're going to need for a bit of cleanup as well on there. So we're going to do a bit of the basic stuff first. So let's have a look at our first patient. So first off, we're going to look at this part here. So what we're going to look for around this model are little bits of flashing that's kind of between these joints here, which we don't have any there. We're also just going to kind of brush off little bits like that, just in case. We're going to have a look at these connecting parts here to the resin. So as I said, basic tool here will be your clippers. So if we just kind of have a look here, we have a little clip there. You want to get as close as you can to it. You'll have your flat edge up against the model part rather than the other edge. Okay, so just clipping it here. A little bit of pressure. Sometimes these bits snap straight off. I've definitely done it in the past where you can snap the bits off. Unfortunately, sometimes you do end up with some problems where you can kind of snap it off and it takes a bit of the model, unfortunately. So with this one here, there we go. Just going to use a knife now. And we're just pushing away. So you're going to hold it. And what my technique is normally with these is you've got the knife here. You want to put your thumb on the back of the blade. Just a bit of pressure and kind of guide it in. Sometimes one of the most unnerving things you see is when you've got hobby mates is how they handle a knife. And geez, it's scary sometimes. So there you go. So that bit there, it's all good. It's been cut back and then finished off with the scalpel there. Next part, we'll have a look at something a little bit more tasty. Right, so this bit is a little bit more tasty here. You can see down here, we've got a bit of what I call flashing down here, just bits of the mold. So we're going to remove those. We can normally just brush those off like that, not a problem. We then have these big connecting parts down here. Now, like I said before, you can attempt to snap them off, or you can kind of use a saw. So sometimes if you're unsure, these are going to be quite crucial parts. What you want to be doing is probably cutting it down here, if you can, cutting it down from this big waste bit down here. So that just drops away. Okay, so also what that's doing is if you now remove this, it's taking a lot of that weight away. So hopefully it won't be so much of a drag on that part that's coming down. So what I'll be doing here is, once again, take this out, make it nice and clean, you can see what we're doing. And just kind of just add a bit of pressure and clip. There we go. And on the same over this side, so you're going to kind of go look where it is. So you remember to put the flat here. So you've then got a guide of what angle to go at. There we go. And this bit here is a bit more chunky. So what I'm probably going to do here is use the saw and just kind of saw away a little bit there. And just kind of like, here we go, just like this. Kind of like a guide here, because when you're clipping it or you're going to be cutting it, you've got this guide here, so it's not going to take anything from the front off. You're not that bothered about the back at this point, but you might want to do is put a couple of cuts on the side here as well, just to guide it when it snaps off. Just got to be careful with these models as well, because you know they're normally pretty pricey. Luckily with Forge World, you know the quality of the resin you're getting. Sometimes if you're getting something that's not official, you don't know really what you're going to be getting, so I kind of stay away from those a bit. Okay, so then we're going to get the clippers here, and we're just going to kind of put a bit of pressure, put a bit of pressure, slowly add it in, and there you go. So we've got a bit of a remnant here, which we can then use the knife to clean off like we've done before. So once again, what you want to be doing here is kind of just using the pressure, little chips at a time sometimes. So I'm just trying to keep it on camera, which is a challenge in itself, people. I kind of think these videos are like a cooking video for hobbyists. There we go. Once you've taken most of the weight off there, you're just kind of just skimming the top off, layering it down, like, a bit like a plane here. You're just really just moving, shaving it, getting it down to the right size. Okay, we're going to add a bit more on the right here. You kind of, there you go, we're taking shape there. It's going to take a little bit more work, which I'll do off camera, but once again, where we've got these bits here, where it's snapped off, we're just going to be adding a bit on there as well. And we'll do a bit on this one as well. We just kind of, there we go, and there we are. So also might help sometimes just to run your knife, the flat side, the side here, just slowly and gently, just in case you're unsure, and put it that way. You don't want to be cutting away from yourself on this point. You just want to have control over your blade and be bringing it back down, just in case there's any raised areas that shouldn't be there. I mean, generally these Forge World kits are pretty good these days. You don't really have to do that much work on them. But as you can see there, the bottom weight's gone. It's looking a bit tidier. And yeah, that's really what you want to be doing as well. Make sure you have got a mat there or something, just to be picking up this resin. It's not particularly good to be breathing in, so make sure you're in some form of ventilated area as well. Right, okay, so we're going to cut a couple more bits and see what we've got, and then we're going to go on to a bit of cleaning. So here we have a leg guard. Sorry, I thought this point would be worth mentioning. Here you've got quite a big thick bit of resin here. So a good way of doing this, little technique to remember, is that you want to be sawing here, and you've got a nice solid point there that you can use to kind of rest your saw about. And also you've got not such a strong point here. So what I would suggest is first off put like a guide cut here. You just want to be putting this in, which will hopefully become apparent. So we just put that in there. And then we go to town on this side here. So once again, make it flat against that point. And what you're doing with that guide point is when this goes all the way through, you're really trying to prevent any resin damage on the other side. So hopefully it kind of acts as like a point of a hinge, possibly. That might be the best term for it. Make sure you get that. Remember, you don't want to be making. Don't put too much pressure on at this point. And you can probably just snap. There we go. And tidy the rest of that up with your knife as well. Okay, right, on to the cleaning part. Right, so next up, the fun part is cleaning your resin models. So we need a toothbrush, old toothbrush preferably, one that you're never going to use again. Ideally, a tub. So normally I use like an ice cream tub. This one I've gone a little bit bigger, with some water, with some washing up liquid or some other kind of cleaning agent in there. Although you want to be careful that cleaning agent isn't going to dissolve your model or warp it too much. And a little bit of kitchen towel just to let it dry off. Now let's have a quick look at the process. Okay, so what you want to be doing here is, my basic technique is get some water warm enough that you know it's going to be warm, it's not going to be too hot. And this is really, you're just going to scrub these models. You want to kind of completely pop it in, get your toothbrush, and you just want to be scrubbing, especially in these little hidden areas. And what you're kind of removing here is the mold release agent, which is used in the process of making your Titan or other Forge World units or other resin units. Just really want to be giving it a good little scrub like this. Make sure you get all the angles, because when you're spraying it, I've had it before, you suddenly have like a bubbly effect and the undercoat isn't adhering to the model. So I've had to go back a couple of times and just go back on and just redo it. So we're doing it, covering every bit here. Pretty sure it's probably going to affect the glue as well at some point if you're not getting it done properly now. That's it, just really giving it a good scrub. Because once you've assembled these models, it's a nightmare to kind of go back over and clean them down. But here we go. And just rinse it off a couple of times, get the worst of it off, pop it on the side like so, just to get dry off. Now I haven't cleaned this one down, so I'm not going to use that one. So I'm going to move on to the next one. Good thing as well is if it's a clear tub rather than a solid white one, for instance, or another kind of colour, is that you can look in the side before you pour it away to make sure that you haven't got any sneaky little bits that have either fallen off or you've forgotten about or accidentally found their way into the tub. So again, just really just scrubbing it here. The last thing I want is when I'm doing a silver on this, is just to bubble away and have nothing there. Very demoralising. So I'm just going to be quite thorough here. Get that, once again, doing it on the other side as well. On the edges. The edges, I think, sometimes are almost unnoticeable when you're spraying it and then you're painting it and you finally go, it's finished. And you realise, actually, I tell you what, I didn't do that bit properly. So there we go. So I'm going to carry on cleaning these parts because it's very entertaining and relatively therapeutic to a degree. Although saying that, I've got hundreds of bits to do, so this could take a little while. Right, and there we go. So there we go. That's a bit on how we're going to prep our Warhound. So I think what's going to be quite a good one now is if you guys put suggestions for names for the Warhound below. Obviously it's going to serve the 83rd war host and be a big supporter of the word bearers, so keep that in mind when you think of names. We're going to next time go into a bit of assembly work, and we're going to start on the feet. We'll also have a look at the base this thing's going to be going on as well. It's quite a big base, it's no 25mm, so yeah, guys, until next time, this is Dom from Black Toad Studios. Take care.